All right, let's get right into it. We're going to break down 5 things, 5 absolute non-negotiables that are just crucial for keeping your self-worth intact in any relationship. And look, this isn't about having a list of rules or playing power games. It's way more fundamental. It's about self-respect.
And this, right here, this quote is pretty much the core of our whole discussion today. Seriously, this one idea is the foundation for everything we're about to cover. The moment you lose sight of your own value, you basically swing the door wide open for all sorts of dynamics that just chip away at who you are.
You know, it's a good question, because it's not like it happens all at once. It's more like a slow burn, a gradual erosion of your self-worth. And it usually happens because you start tolerating things that really should be deal breakers. But before we dive into what those are, let's get crystal clear on what high value even means.
Now, pay close attention here because this is key. This has absolutely nothing to do with how much money you make, your job title, or looking down on anyone else. No, it's an internal thing. It's about having a rock-solid sense of who you are, having principles you actually live by, and just knowing your own worth deep down.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this talk. We're going to walk through each of these 5 points, one by one. Think of these as the ultimate red lines. When someone crosses them, it's a huge signal that there's a fundamental problem you just can't afford to ignore.
Let's kick things off with the absolute bedrock of any real healthy connection.
First on the list, constant lying. We have to have a zero-tolerance policy for this stuff. And look, we're not talking about a tiny white lie about a bad haircut. We're talking about a pattern of deception, big or small.
And here's exactly why it's a deal breaker. I mean, without trust, what do you really have? Nothing. Constant lying isn't just about hiding stuff. It's a message. It says loud and clear, I don't respect you enough to tell you the truth. And you simply cannot build anything real on a foundation of lies. It's impossible.
All right, let's move on to number 2. This one can be a lot more obvious, but it's just as damaging.
Disrespect. Simple as that. Now, this can show up in all kinds of ways. It can be subtle, it can be loud, it can happen in private, or right in front of your friends. But no matter how it shows up, it's never okay.
So what does this actually look like? Well, it can be someone kind of poking fun at your dreams, making you the butt of a joke in public, or just constantly telling you that you're being too sensitive or overreacting anytime you express how you feel. A person who truly values themselves will not stick around and let someone else tear them down piece by piece.
Okay, this next one. This one's tricky. It's insidious, really, because it often pretends to be care or concern. Emotional manipulation. And there it is. We're circling right back to that opening quote we started with, aren't we? About how you become easy to manipulate when you forget your own value. This is where it happens.
You gotta watch out for these classic control tactics. You know, the guilt trips, designed to make you do what they want, or the silent treatment, used like a weapon to punish you. And maybe the most damaging of all, that thing where they make you question your own memory, your own sanity. A high-value man sees these for what they are. Red flags for control, not signs of love.
And that brings us, pretty logically, to our 4th point. And this one is so critical.
Look, having boundaries is great, but they're totally pointless if you don't actually enforce them. When you let someone constantly cross your boundaries, you're not just letting it slide. You're actively teaching them that your boundaries don't mean anything.
Think about it. Whether it's them casually going through your phone, constantly pushing you to do something you've already said no to, or just ignoring your need for a little space, these aren't small slip-ups. They're tests. They're trying to see how much they can get away with.
And that brings us to number 5. This one creates a power dynamic that is just profoundly unhealthy. This is that awful feeling when you realize you're in a constant state of trying to prove your worth to somebody, like you're always auditioning for their affection. This is a game you can never, ever win. Why? Because it's not designed for you to win. Affection gets treated like a reward that they hand out when you're good. The goalposts for what makes you good enough are always shifting, which keeps you anxious and desperate for their validation. It is a perfect recipe for completely losing yourself.
So let's just put it all together for a second. Take a look at the 2 paths here. It's pretty stark, right? On one side, you tolerate this stuff, and it leads straight to losing your self-worth, living with anxiety, and basically being controlled. But on the other side, enforcing your boundaries leads to the exact opposite: self-respect, empowerment, and the room for a real, genuine connection to actually grow.
And really, that's what this entire thing boils down to. This is the main point. Your inherent value as a human being is simply not up for debate. It's not something you should have to earn, and it's definitely not something you should ever have to compromise just to keep someone in your life. Period.
And we're going to end on this thought right here. At the end of the day, you can't control other people. You can't make them be honest or respectful, but you have 100% control over your response. The real power isn't in trying to change them. It's in deciding what is and is not acceptable in your life. So, what are you going to choose?